Music can change the world. Music can affect your life. But to find the important stuff, you may have to dig a little deeper than American Idol. Welcome to the Deep Cut. This is a podcast that does that digging for you. We shovel through the surface noise that is known as Top 40 radio and find the gems that are often overlooked. I'm your host, Mick Gray. Let's dig in. Growing up in Oakland, California, and raised as the son of a civil rights activist lawyer, Boots Riley was set on track to become the man he is today. When he formed the hip-hop band The Coup, his subject matter in his lyrics were socially conscious and biting, and at the same time hilarious. As you listen, you think, should I be laughing or crying? Boots Riley makes you think. Now, as he moves his career in a new direction, movie making, we got to sit down, talk a bit about social protest, and pick this gentleman's brain and see what's ahead of him and us. Well, today we're talking with Boots Riley, amazing Oakland rapper, activist. How you doing today, Boots?
I'm doing good.
I don't know really even where to start with you. I love to talk to people about influences first a lot of the time, because this is one of the things I'm most interested in musicians in general. Is when you were young, when you were a kid, what was the first stuff that really sparked you to get you excited about doing music?
I guess a lot of I didn't come from a musical family, so it's hard to separate the excitement about music. Or it's hard to figure out which part was the excitement about music and which part was the excitement about doing music, about making music.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of times all those things seem like just dreams. You don't know anyone in real life that does. If you don't know anyone in real life that does that sort of thing, then
it's a fantasy almost.
Yeah. Nobody really does that or whatever. So I think, music-wise, early on, I was I loved Prince.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that made me think, wow, I can do this it wasn't until high school. I used to try to get a friend of mine named Johnny to be involved in political events. This is when I was 14 and 15. My friend Johnny used to rap.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, oh yeah, you can, we're doing a rally for this person that got beat up by the police, and there'll be a lot of people there, and you can come perform at the rally if you come with me. And So that was like some of the basis of me interacting with him around rapping, because he'd be like, well, you gotta be my hype man if you do that. So I'd start performing and doing that, mainly to just get one extra person to the rallies, because at those times in the 80s, police brutality rally, this was before there was video and all this kind of stuff. Really, they were, you'd get like, if you had 10 people, you'd be talking about afterward what a success the demonstration was.
Exactly.
And so through that, I started helping him out, because he was trying to get on with this group of folks that were doing music, this guy named MC Ant, and another guy, and Ant Banks, who produced MC Ant.
Yeah.
And so they did a weekly thing at a place called Keisha's Inn on San Pablo in Berkeley, which is now a bookstore. And but every Friday they'd be there. I guess they rented it out, and there wouldn't be very many people there. There'd be like 20 or 30 people at the most. And but Johnny would be carrying stuff in, and so part of the thing was I'd help Johnny carry the stuff in. It was and one day they came, and MC Ant, who's now was what became a bigger fixture in the Bay Area, but MC Ant put out a record, an actual physical record, and they brought it there, and they gave us one.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, this is a real thing. Like, it had printed on there. It was written by, it was a record label that they made up. And then, you know, on Calex, they were playing this song.
Man, and that's a big deal when you get all of a sudden you hear your buddy being played on the radio.
Yeah, it wasn't really my buddy, but it was people I knew in real life.
Yeah.
And that made me think, wow, you can do this. You can this is, I want to do that. I want to, it seemed like they had some agency in the world that they could just make some music and have, what I thought was millions of people listening to it. More like thousands.
Yeah. So, I consider you a poet a lot too. Were you ever interested in Gil Scott Heron? Because I've always just been blown away by the innovative style that Gil Scott Heron did as a young man.
Yeah, my mother had a lot of those records, and I would, but I think I didn't really get onto them until after I was, already doing music.
Yeah.
So, like I knew about them and I would see them around, but they were just album covers. And only when we were looking for, we were directly looking for influences. Like, what can we use from this? What can we do from that? Blah, blah, blah. And then I went through all my parents' records, and then we'd go to the dollar bin, and which I don't think even exists anymore for records.
No, that was one of the coolest thing to do, to go through the dollar bin.
And even the dollar bin was not the cheapest records. There was like 50 cents.
Exactly.
Order. And so you could buy stuff that you had no idea about.
Exactly. You just like the cover or something. Yeah, we used to do that all the time. Yeah. That's cool.
And so so it became an influence. Strangely enough, after we did our first album, Kill My Landlord, guy from TBT Records, who's kind of a music industry dude, I can't well-known name now, but I can't remember. But he was the president of TBT Records, and he came and visited me and said, "Hey, Gil Scott wrote a whole album with Brian Anderson, but I don't know. I don't want to misquote what happened, but maybe something had happened along the way, and Gil Scott wanted to do another take on the album."
Huh.
And this guy was like, "Hey, we pitched him you, and he's down to do it."
Wow.
So they were like, be ready, and you'll go in the studio in May of whatever year that this was. I think this was, or it was like maybe March or something like that. So I got all this stuff together. I think we were still like promoting some songs on Kill My Landlord, and got all this stuff together, like a bunch of different instrumentals that I made and all this kind of stuff. And I went to the studio, but they couldn't find. At the time, Gil Scott was living in San Francisco.
Oh wow! I never even knew he lived here.
Yeah. And so I got all this stuff together to go to the studio. They couldn't find him. He never showed up.
Wow.
And I guess like a month later, they said, "Oh, we found him. He ended up in London or whatever." So I never got to meet him.
Damn.
I had all this music, and I was like, "Damn, I got to do another album." That music became Genocide and Juice.
It's almost 10 o'clock, see I got a baller lit for property, so I slip my beanie on sloppily and promenade out to take up a collection. I got game like I read the directions. I'm wishing that I had an automobile as I feel the cold wind rush past. But let me state that I'm a hustler for real, so you know I got the stolen bus pass. Just as the bus pulls up and I step to the rear, this old lady looked like she drank a 40 of beer. I see my old school partner say his brother got popped. Pay my respects, can you ring the bell? We came to my stop. The street light reflects off the piss on the ground, which reflects off the hamburger sign that turns round, which reflects off the chrome of the BMW, which reflects off the fact that I'm broke. Now what the fuck is new?
That's crazy, Boots. You almost worked with him. That's outrageous.
Yeah.
God, what? There you go, man. Life's fate, man. What happens? And like you say, you made some lemonade out of lemons there. It ended up being your next record. So.
Yep. I mean, so.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that he had a lot of problems in his life. I don't know that much about Gil's life, but I do notice that he was destitute at one time. Down and out in the gutter at times. And
yeah. So the album that was what became for him Spirit.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy, man. I'm glad I brought that up. That's a great story, man. So your dad was a civil rights lawyer. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. So during the civil rights movement, he was, young. He was a civil rights organizer and activist. He was in the NAACP from a time of being an early teen, like in Durham, North Carolina, and that was in the 50s, and kept on going through high school, and so that was in Durham. So he took part in helping to organize the first sit-ins in like Greensboro and all that.
Wow.
Coffee shop sit-ins and stuff like that. He wasn't one of the people that sat in, but he was one of the organizers of it.
Yeah.
And that was college kids, and I think he was still in high school. And he ended up moving out to the Bay Area with CORE and getting involved in, and from there, getting involved in more radical organizations than that, being involved in the San Francisco State Strike, being in the Progressive Labor Party, which was a revolutionary organization.
Yeah.
And then moving him back out to Chicago, where I was born, and then Detroit, to be their full-time organizer there. And then he broke with that organization and went back to school. He hadn't gone to college, hadn't finished college, because he became a radical while he was supposed to be in college, and so he decided to go back and become a lawyer. And he became a lawyer. Came out here. He went to Golden Gate Law School, because at the time that was considered the radical or progressive school. And so I was 8 already when he graduated law school, and he did mainly criminal defense and civil rights law. So he wasn't a lawyer for the civil rights movement, but yes, he does civil rights work, and he's represented, after the Panthers, he represented a lot of or a few Black Panthers and different things, and but that was when they were already not an organization.
Yeah. And
does a lot of work around police brutality. Is not only doing work as a lawyer, but he helps to organize the National Lawyers Guild, and he's much more involved, for instance, in Black Lives Matter than I am. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the apple did not fall far from the tree. I mean, you are your dad's son. I mean, what I know about you, it sounds like you pretty much learned and were moved in the direction that your dad kind of brought you up in.
Yeah, yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, that kind of thing doesn't happen very much. You know, you think about a lot of families. You know, you grow up and your parents are one way, and you're like you kind of rebel to, oh well, I don't. You know, I've been growing up with this my whole life. I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah.
You were right there with
yeah,
me.
I think the key difference is that he actually did not really try to get me involved in what he was doing. You know, like he was always very busy. So we were like latchkey kids because my parents weren't together. So, and he was always very busy. So it wasn't like I had to rebel against this thing he was trying to get me to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's really interesting, man. So with you, I mean, I want to talk about your music and I want to talk about, you know, your screenplay and stuff like that. But you are an activist and you have a lot of political views and I love talking about that stuff and I love to hear where you come from and your views on it all. There's a real basic question I want to ask you, and it fits with today's what's happening in politics today and everything. What is the difference between socialism and communism? I mean, what is it? What is really the essence of that?
And what socialism are you talking about? Because there's a lot of stuff that's called socialism.
Well, that word is,
like some people would call France socialist.
Yeah.
You know that. So
the word is coming up so much right now with Bernie and things like that, and that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Technically, socialism is, as originally was conceived or as originally put forward, was a way towards what's considered communism, and I would define communism as the people democratically controlling the wealth that we create with our labor. So meaning, right, the only, you know, kind of superficial democracy we have under capitalism is that we get to elect the managers of the system, you know.
Yeah.
But those managers don't have a job if they don't make an exploitative system keep working.
Exactly.
Right. And we get to elect those representatives. We don't really have any say over what they do once they're in office or anything like that. And, you know, and the question is, how much power do they actually have? For communism to work, there has to be at least a more direct democracy. There's a control over resources that people are creating with their labor. So in one sense, it's wrong to look at it as like, oh, the people can't tell these companies what to do, because we're thinking about it from the top down. We're thinking about these companies as, you know, the stockholders or the CEOs that run them. But companies are really the workers who drive the profit, right?
Right.
Who create that thing, you know. A car is probably created for 1/100th of what it's sold for.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's an immense profit in that, you know, and the folks that, you know, communism is a reorganization of the economy, to where those workers share that wealth with each other and can allocate it accordingly.
Right.
So,
I mean, why can't, I mean, that it comes down to more thought of humanity and compassion in general. And it's, I think with me, it's always like, well, people that have corporations and people who have too much money, there's too much greed, and the power has corrupted them so much that they can't see that all the people that brought them there are what it's all about.
Yeah. And so socialism, as like many radicals would say, is a step before you get to that point of communism, as I described,
okay.
where the people have taken control of the means of production. They have the company. The workers there have said, okay, this is our company now. This is our economy now. But they haven't fully made the transition to where they're controlling all of the wealth. They're putting more resources, more of the wealth back into the people, and making a slow transition into that. Now, there are organizations that I've been involved with that call themselves communists that think that those distinctions, as they've been done in the past, have led to problems that made things revert back to an exploitative system. And there are definitely some radical socialist folks who believe that it's very necessary, that it's a step that you have to have so that you can so that the working class can get itself together once it's gained power and figure out how to transition to a different kind of economy. Then there are other folks that define socialism, like when they say France is socialist or Scandinavia is socialist, or they think that Bernie Sanders is a socialist.
Yeah, right.
And it's based on the idea that, there's something being given back to the people.
Yeah.
And so
do you look at it as a step? Do you look at some
better than not? It's not necessarily a radical reform that I'm talking. Everything is some sort of change.
Yeah.
So, but I'm talking about a sort of change that can't be lost without the ruling class coming and really just taking back over. But with the problem with changes that come through just through the electoral process is that the electoral process leaves a void of a movement. So no matter what movement happens to get someone there, it's gone as soon as those ballots are cast.
Yeah, that's true.
And the thing is that the movement that really changes those allocations of resources in a much stronger way and for longer of a time is one that is able to rely on shutting down profit, on workers being able to use the withholding of labor in order to make the ruling class do what we want them to do.
Yeah.
And electoral processes do not build that movement. So there's no leverage that the person that gets in office has to actually make the changes that they want, because there's no movement to do it.
Yeah.
In all of those countries that we talk about, they have some of those ideas that people consider being where they get called socialist. In Europe, they did that and still have a militant labor movement. It's not something that just happened because people have a different idea in their head. They're able to do it because they have a militant labor movement that shuts things down. I was in France 6 years ago, and I was there in the middle of a general strike.
Wow.
The whole country shut down because there was about to be a vote, or no, not even a vote, but they were about to change the retirement age from 62 to 63.
Wow. And the country shut down.
Yeah. Trucks were not shipping things. Factories were shut down. Schools the students and the teachers were striking all over the country, from the south of France up to Brittany. We were touring, and we did a show in Brest, which is in the northwest of France, after having been down in Bordeaux and been part of the things that were shutting it down there. And we did a show in Brest, and the next day we were going to the train, and as we're lugging our bags to the train to get out of there, a group of it looked like 600 students, came around the corner, and I recognized, and they were carrying signs in French, and I didn't know exactly what it said, but I understood what was happening. And they were headed toward the train station, and then some kids were in there that were at the show, and they said, "Oh, the coup, great show, but sorry, we can't let you leave. We're shutting down the train station."
Wow. Crazy.
And so trains were not moving. All the things. I mean, they were able to do this because they had a militant movement that wasn't just based on outside of work. Right now, we base everything on spectacle, which is the demonstrations. And even when we show Europe, we show them having demonstrations. Yeah. But their strong suit is that they have a militant, radical, or more radical than this at least, labor movement.
Things change when you can stop society from running.
Yeah. And not even just society, when they stop profit.
Yeah. Oh, that's the big thing.
When they stop workplaces from working. So they didn't get these things. Some of those measures did get voted in, but it was only because there was a movement that they had to deal with. It wasn't, they didn't spend all their time trying to get the right person elected. They spent most of their time organizing a militant labor movement that then could make any politician bend to their will.
Why can't that happen in America?
Because since it can, but the reason why it hasn't happened is because since the 60s, or since the 50s, since the beginning of the New Left, the left has been running away from actual class struggle. Everything got focused on spectacle in the 60s. People moved in the 20s and 30s, though, let's say 40 years before that, there was a mass militant and way more radical labor movement going on. And that wasn't out of anything. That was just what radicals focused on, right? It had to do with focus. Because of that, there ended up being 1 million card-carrying communists in the United States in the 20s and 30s.
Wow.
Right? At a time where I think the population was only 120 million. And so if you had a million card-carrying communists, people that are saying, yes, not only do I wish there was a revolution, I am committed to a party to make it, then you know that, for that million people, they all knew 10 other people, that were probably supportive of them, but not ready to go that extra mile or whatever. But what was happening at the time was that there were strikes and militant and radical things going on in places like Utah, Montana, Alabama, and then throughout the Midwest, where in Utah and Montana and Alabama, miners were taking over the mines, and and militantly, in a couple cases getting in shootouts. And actually that got escalated because the Rockefeller killed 100 miners in Colorado. And after that, the miners stepped it up. And you know, in the Midwest, people were occupying factories and, you know, and fighting militantly for these things. This was and so that not only did those things work for the worker themselves that was involved, but it caught the imagination of the rest of the people, because then people could see, oh, here is the leverage that we actually have. Right now, when we go out into the street and it's just a demonstration where we're just there to let our voice be heard, people are still left with a sense of frustration. Okay, 1 million people were in the street in the United States today about this. What do we do? And even organizers don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Like you say, product has to be stopped before people start seeing things happen.
Yeah, and it's also because, you know, even on the left, we've been running away from class analysis, from people understanding that that wages and exploitation are at the center of the contradiction of this economic system.
Yeah.
And that because that is how this system works, that's why we have so much power.
Yeah.
But since the 60s, the left has hidden in art, you know, such as music and painting and academia. So there's way more revolutionaries in all of that than there is in labor movement.
Yeah.
And I don't mean by that people need to all focus on joining and supporting the SEIU. I mean, there's only 7% of the workforce that are in unions.
Really? It's that low?
It's that low.
Damn.
Hello?
Yes, I would like to speak with Boops from the rap group The Coop.
It's the Cool, and this is Boots. Speak.
Well, my name is Dick Doolittle. I'm a reporter from Grime Magazine, and we'd like to comment on the tragic riot.
Not a riot, it's a rebellion.
Well, the tragic rebellion?
And tragic for who?
Well, there's havoc in the streets. The police have lost control over the people. Criminals are running free from jail. People are actually taking property from big businesses. It's complete chaos.
That's not chaos, that's progress.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that your comment?
No, this is it.
And
Isn't there power in the unions, or is the union an obsolete thing?
Well, this is the thing, is that, okay, there's 93% of people that aren't in unions. That means that there are so many jobs that we have that we can organize a radical union movement in. And one of the reasons that people aren't in it, that went along with radicals leaving the labor movement, was the passage of the Taft-Hartley law. Taft-Hartley law says that you can't have solidarity strikes. The reason why it says you can't have solidarity strikes is because they're what actually works.
Oh, man.
So meaning if you really want to be able to fight and make a higher wage, okay, here's the thing. Let me go back to this. In order for wage hikes to work, you have to have a contract that is as such that forbids them from raising prices to a certain amount, because that's how they gouge what your wage hike actually is by just all the prices go up and you've got the same amount of money with just a higher number, right?
Yeah.
But so an actual radical militant labor movement could shut things down until the boss agrees not only to raise wages, but to not raise prices at the same time. You'd only be able to do that is if you had them at such a need to get the company running again that they had to do that. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is through solidarity strikes, which are illegal. So now here's the thing. So McDonald's. The only way to fight them and get them to some sort of thing is going to be not just to be able to strike at the McDonald's on the east side of town. You got to be able to strike at the McDonald's on the west side of town too. That is currently illegal. The only people that are really going to do that are radicals who want to see social change, not folks that are just organizing to make a union that follows the law. The radicals that want to see social change are already breaking the law all the time, right?
Yeah.
So the point is to go to jail for that. Like if the union leadership needs to go to jail in order to win, then that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
Right? And at a certain point, it won't matter because the strikers won't go to jail. It'll just be the union leaders. And then that'll gain more publicity and more support, and people will see that. But the key to doing it is to breaking that Taft-Hartley law.
Exactly. Throw that out the window.
Leaders of the AFL-CIO or SEIU to do that because they're in it they got a career in that they're not revolutionaries. They're not trying to make social change. At the time in the 20s and 30s, one of the things that also made so many people join those unions and join their movement is that they were clear that this is not just about wages. We're going to win. We want to win this fight, but we're trying to change the way the world is right now.
Exactly.
And this is our leverage.
Yeah.
And I think that people want to be part of that.
Yeah.
So
This is for my folkers who got bills. This is for my folkers, check 1, 2. This is for my folkers never live like a hog. Me and you toe to toe, I got love for the underdog. This is for my folkers who got bills. This is for my folkers, check 1, 2. This is for my folkers never live like a hog. Me and you toe to toe, I got love for the underdog. I raise this glass for the ones who die meaninglessly and the newborns who get fed intravenously. Somebody's mama caught a job and a welfare fraud case. When she breathes, she swear it feel like plastic wrap around her face. Lights turned off, and this the third month the rent is late. Thoughts of being homeless, crying till you hyperventilate. Despair permeates the air and sets in your head.
It's such a freaking crazy world, and I want to change the subject to your screenplay and your music, but I want to ask you one thing. Ken, do you think that there can be a peaceful revolution in this country to change things to be so we can have more compassion and humanity? Think about humanity a little bit more. Can it be a peaceful revolution, or is it inevitable that America is on the road to a violent revolution?
Well, there's a guy named Joe Hill who used to go around the country singing songs during the wobbly days in the early 1910s. And
I think Mr. Morello sings some of his songs, doesn't he?
Yeah. And he used to say, look, revolution could be just as as easy as everybody deciding that they're going to take a 2-hour break at once, going and having a picnic and coming back to work and saying, nope, this is how we're going to do it now. We're all going to take the profits, and boss, you're gone. You're fired.
It's as easy as just organizing.
Exactly. So that could be peaceful, but the point is, it's not. To get to that point is not peaceful because you've got someone fighting you.
Yeah. Right.
So the question is, what do you consider peaceful? Like, in order to have a real strike, to do those things, you have to
make people angry.
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
But I'm saying, and I don't think that anger is what gets people to do that. Optimism about being able to win is what gets people to do stuff. Yeah. And that optimism can only come through a real class analysis of what's going on. But the thing is that in order to have a strike, let's look at it here in the Bay Area. And in the country, the most successful union, you know, in terms of size and what they're able to do and what they get paid and all that sort of stuff, are the Longshoremen. And specifically, the Longshoremen in the Bay Area. Longshoremen in the Bay Area are the most militant union in the country.
Wow.
They're also the most radical. I wouldn't say they are radical. Some of them are, but, you know, some of the moves they make are some of the most radical that get made, you know, of an effective union. So the reason why, let's take it back to in the 20s and early 30s, longshoremen were considered basically as, you know, a low class labor, as, you know, someone that cleans a house or whatever. Like, you don't need any skill for that. You're just moving heavy shit. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, like that's how it was considered. And it was also considered unorganizable. Even during the time while there was so many things being organized, it was considered by many, even on the left, like that, you're not going to be able to do that because they had the same thing fast food has. High turnovers. It was considered a job that anybody could do as long as, you know, they were willing to work. And yeah, they had high turnovers and everything. In the mid 30s, there was a West Coast strike of the longshoremen, and it was so severely fought by the owners of the ports and by the U.S. government. That, like, there were actual tanks rolling through San Francisco.
Really?
Fighting the longshoremen.
Wow.
And it
was a war.
Yeah, and it became clear that to what's his name, Harry, I can't remember his name, but he was he ran Longshoreman at the time, the union, Harry Bridges. Ah. And he was a radical. He was an actual revolutionary, died in the war, and he did something that wasn't always done. The longshore, the port owners were bringing in scabs, and they were black people. So his answer to that was he went to the black neighborhoods in Oakland, went to the bars, went to the churches, went to the parks, you know, went to the areas where black folks were, and said, look, you guys help in this West Coast strike, I'll make sure that that your families are taken care of and that you're part of the union. And so they won it through a militant strike. And by militant, I mean they did not let scabs in. The black community joined them. To this day, in the Bay Area, in the Bay Area, most of the longshoremen are black.
Wow.
And that's because they won such gains that your job gets passed when you die, your job gets passed to your next of kin.
Wow.
It's a dangerous job.
Wow.
It's a dangerous job. Your job gets passed to your next of kin. And they made it so that the boss doesn't even get to hire who works there. The union gets to hire who works there. That was unheard of.
That is.
That they were like, look, we have to work in these dangerous conditions, and we have to rely on each other, like, because people get killed even nowadays. People get killed,
of course, pretty often. They're
cut in half. Iraq, who used to be in the coup, is a longshoreman now. So here's my point. Right now, a longshoreman, which is labor, but they work 4 hours a day, and they get paid about $104,000 a year. And that is not because the people that own those companies just deemed it worth it. It's because they made it worth it. It's because they shut down the ports at the drop of a dime. Like, they got something going, like they shut them down. Not only do they shut them down and say we're not working, they will physically stop you. You try to go through their strike line. They're not just saying, oh, it's illegal to stop somebody from going in. They don't care. You're not getting in. You're not scabbing on their strike. You're not becoming a replacement worker on their strike. So because they set that precedent, when they threaten a strike, they get what they want.
Man.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. For a strike to work, for something to work or for a power play to work in the United States.
Yeah.
There has to be this threat. Either you're going to make less profit or you're going to make no profit. That message has to be sent loud and clear. And the only way to do that is if you physically keep replacement workers out.
Yeah. Man.
And so do you consider that peaceful or not?
Yes,
you know,
I do.
Yeah, I'm just saying, listener. So that in and of itself, there's no such thing as a peaceful strike.
Yeah.
And work stoppages are the only thing that's going to, you could elect Che Guevara tomorrow, and he wouldn't have the tools to be able to implement any of the things that he thought was necessary. And the tools that he would need would be some people that can stop profit.
Yeah, exactly. I could talk to you about this subject all day long. I love your views on this stuff, and you have such great ideas. I mean, I hope, man, it's really great. I want to completely change the subject though, because I want to make sure we have time to talk about this. You have some amazing, exciting things happening in your life right now. You have just won a grant. Is it a grant from the Sundance Film Festival?
Well, yeah, there are grants from them, but I think you might be talking. Well,
tell us about it. Your screenplay.
So yeah, I wrote this screenplay that McSweeney's put out last year as its own paperback book.
I didn't even realize that it was put out as a book.
Yeah, it was but a screenplay, but just packaged as a book.
Yeah.
And then I joined San Francisco Film Society. They gave a grant so that I could not tour and work on the screenplay some more.
Yeah.
Last year, Sundance brought me to the Screenwriters Lab. This year, they are bringing me to the Directing Lab, and this year, San Francisco Film Society also gave us a small production grant.
Man, that's outrageous.
Yeah. So it's cool, and we're shooting this year.
So is this all scheduled, or when does shooting start for the film?
Yeah, we're shooting it this fall.
Oh man, it's exciting. And now you have is Patton Oswalt still slated as going to be in the film?
Honestly, I'm not even ever gonna talk to him about that. I'm sure you know.
I know. Oh my God, yeah, he's going through some stuff right now.
So yeah, I can't even imagine what I'd be doing or what I'd be thinking about.
I know. He was originally you did want him for the film, but
yeah, he was originally he was in the film. That's something that I just if he wants to be in it, he's in. But I'm not going to.
I don't know if people know or not, but
I'm not going to put another request on him.
The great comedian Patton Oswalt's wife died tragically. I think it was within the last month, right?
Yeah.
And he's such an amazing guy. He did your Magic Clap, the coup video for the Magic Clap, and it's just one of the most hilarious things.
Yeah, he's always been really supportive. He was one of the first people that signed on to the movie.
Man.
And like, he, you know, with the magic clap thing, he was just like, hey, how do I help make you more popular?
That's too cool.
And it's like, let's do a video. And my boy Pete Lee came up with the video idea, and yeah, we did that.
Well, our thoughts and, you know, condolences go out to Patton and his family, and we sure hope that things do eventually work out where you guys get to work together again.
Come on, kids! Gather round! Listen up! The magic clap!
M-A-G-I-C-C-L-A-P. Let's go! M-A-G-I-C-C-L-A-P.
Let's do it!
Clap. Magic clap. Clap. Magic clap.
It's like a hot wire, baby, when we put it together. When the sparks fly, we'll ignite the future forever. This is the last kiss, Martin Navigator Coretta. It's like a paparazzi picture when I blast my Beretta. I got scars on my back, the truth on my tongue. I had the money in my hand when that alarm got wrong. We wanna bleed fire and freedom from our lungs. The homeland security, we are the bomb.
So now with the everything going, you have this this. What's your next step? Now are you still massaging things, getting ready for shooting, or what are you doing actually right now as far as that goes?
We did a reading in Los Angeles Sunday night.
I saw those photos. That looked fun.
And yeah, and we and so that, you know, when you hear it out loud, then you all of a sudden see stuff that needs to come out. You're like, oh shit, okay.
So you can start massaging at that point.
Yeah, some, and you know, it's been being edited over and over. It's gotten crazier and tighter. So yeah.
Tell us the basic.
And for the month of June, I'll be at the director's lab, which means like we shoot scenes. Not that we'll use, but just I get to try some stuff.
Oh man!
I don't have to pay for it. They give me a crew, and
that's gonna be a gas.
Yeah.
Tell us the basic premise of the story.
Well, it's a surreal dark comedy with magical realism and science fiction.
I love it already.
It's inspired by my time as a telemarketer.
Oh god!
It's called Sorry to Bother You.
And that was the name of a Coup album, also.
Yeah. So originally, I wanted that to be the soundtrack to the movie, but it's been so much time now that we're making another Coup album.
All right.
That will be the soundtrack to it, and then the score is being done by Tune Yards.
Oh man, that's cool. They're great.
Yeah.
Man, this is so exciting. I'm going to be like following your Facebook feeds, you know, close to follow what this is, because I want to see how it goes, man.
Yeah. And there are monsters in it.
Are you going to do like CG stuff?
No, it's going to be all practical.
Oh yes, I love it.
There's a couple different practical companies that we're figuring it out with, and we're going to have to fire it off and decide who gets to get started, but they're about to get started like soon, within the next month.
Sounds so exciting, man. So okay, let's talk about the Coup a little bit. You guys started in about I think it was first album was around '93 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And your pal and cohort in that, Pam the Funkstress, you guys got together and started doing some amazing combination of, you know, political, funk, humor, rock. You're everything, kind of, all mixed into one. And how did you originally get connected up with Pam?
Let's see. So me and E-Rock had made demos, and we had another DJ that just seemed to be too busy, and we ran into we actually had already we used to see Pam DJing at, like, they have these conferences which are different than like comic conferences. Music conferences seem to be very different because everybody that's going there is really wanting to make it in the industry, put their music out, and these conferences kind of sell it to them as, if you pay this $100 to come here, you're going to have the tools that you need to make it. You're going to meet somebody, and you're going to blah blah blah. Yeah. And the panels are really just all the same stuff, things you can learn from a magazine, really. Yeah. Right? Like, it's like, here's how many songs you should put on your demo, and you should always put your best 3 songs first. And
the rules, man.
Yeah, like things like that. But and you know, often they were just scams because it was like, this panel is sponsored by this independent record company that wants you to see their logo, but it's like everybody's putting money into this. I don't know. Anyway, so we used to go to a lot of those conferences, like, and when before we put an album out, and it, you know, also at those conferences, people have to pay to play, so you're paying $500 to play. You're hoping like some industry people are going to be there or something, but so we would see Pam there, and with she was in another group called Funk Lab All Stars, which they have a video. You can look that up and see her in it. And so we would see her around, and I think we decided we needed to get another DJ, and we met. I went and approached her while she was DJing Tupac's record release party, and for his first album.
Yeah.
And yeah, was it? Yeah, it was for his first album, and and that's how we got together. I was like, look, we're making this happen. You know, love to.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, because a good connection there with her, because you guys are. It's a good mix the way you guys work it out. Now you mentioned Prince earlier as being an influence. She was directly connected. She actually worked with Prince doing some of the Bay Area parties and stuff like that.
Well, not just the Bay. He took her on tour around the U.S.
Oh, wow. She actually toured with him.
Yeah.
Man. It's crazy. I know how it's. I mean, I am a huge Prince fan and a huge David Bowie fan, and this year is insane. We're losing people this year.
Yeah. 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 It's really. I had many chances to actually meet him, and actually had time in the same, like, few feet away from him for hours, but I just never wanted to say anything to where like he said something about not liking me or my music or something, you know, and then I have to, like, my favorite music in the world, I have to attach that feeling to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lose that. But yeah, I should have gone ahead and.
It's tough. He was very connected with the Oakland community also, from what I understand.
Yep.
He dumped a lot of money after he was gone. Word comes out that Prince dumped piles of money into helping the Oakland communities, and it's just like, wow, the guy was something.
Yes.
So new Coup album. You were just saying that you're putting it together. This will be specific music that you'll be putting together for the soundtrack, or will it be standalone also?
Well, the ideas that are in the movie are the same ideas that I've been putting into my music the whole time. Yeah. So it will be standalone. It won't be like, here we are sitting in a cafe. Yeah, it won't be like that.
I hear you.
It's not a musical.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, either way is cool with me. I want to hear what you're going to do there, man. Yeah. So, Another one of your projects that you worked on that is one of my faves because I'm a huge Tom Morello fan, and that's I think that's how I found you, was because of following Tom Morello and then finding out about the Street Sweeper Social Club, and those two records are really cool. I mean, that's you with that kind of power guitarist behind it is just insane. What's your thoughts on your times working with him?
Yeah, I met Tom. Well, okay. So Tom sent me an email like in 2003. I had never formally met him. I met him like I saw. Anyway, so I never formally met him. And he sent me an email just out of the blue saying, "Hey, we're doing this acoustic tour." That was him, Billy Bragg, Steve Earle, Jill Sobule. It was called the Tell Us the Truth tour, and he invited me to come on that. And actually, he had approached me while Audioslave was making their album, and there had been some concern by him and the other dudes that had formerly been enraged that Chris, the subject matter of what Chris was writing. So he approached me and said, "Hey, you want to submit a song? I don't know if Chris will do it, but thought it might be interesting if you submitted some lyrics." So I did. I wrote some lyrics and sent it in, and apparently Chris wasn't down with doing anyone else's song, but Tom really wanted it to happen. But it didn't happen. And those lyrics it ended up becoming on this last Coup album, the song This Year. Anyway, but even a crazier story than that is that while we were doing Street Sweeper Social Club, we do all these press junkets, and people would say, would ask why, how did we get together? And the truth is, the why and how's after Audioslave broke up, maybe the day after they realized it wasn't going to happen, he came to me and said, "Let's make a band." And that's how Street Sweeper Social Club was formed. But, so I tell that story, and then he was like, "Wait, dude, that's not the first time. That's not really the beginning of the story." Like, what are you talking about? So to tell this, I have to go back to one of the worst shows that the Coup has ever had.
Oh my God.
And I always talked about it as one of the worst shows that we had, probably the worst show that we've ever done. Let's put it like that. Not the worst situation we've ever been in, but the worst show that we've ever done was in 2000. Was it in 2000? No, 2002 at the at House of Blues in LA. We were on the Executioners tour, which was, it was a DJ group called the Executioners. We were opening up.
Yeah.
And that promoter had some weird stuff going on where he had this live painter, which I hate. I like painters, I like art, but I don't like it on stage. Like,
yeah.
They are performing while they're, like it becomes like a gimmick or whatever.
Exactly,
yeah. So they had this live painter on there that you just had to that it just had to be there or whatever, And so, and at the time was, I was basically firing the drummer, and because and stupidly, I told him right before we went out on stage.
Oh no.
And my bass player at the time had taken something. I don't know what. He was on something. He was like, this was also the one of the last two shows of the tour, so it's supposed to be extra tight.
Yeah.
Right? So the bass player had was, I don't know if he was on acid or what, but he was out there.
This sounds like a scene from a movie, actually.
And then there was a friend of mine who decided that he was the hype man that would come on stage. So I had to kind of like get rid of him. So he was like coming out and like yelling and stuff on a microphone. Anyway, my drummer decided that he was going to play everything twice as fast. And, you know, because of our argument.
Oh, God.
And the bass player was like forgetting bass lines halfway in there. And then we had the live painter going on. It was just really a disaster.
It was a fiasco.
He didn't have the live painter going on, but I understand. So what I didn't know what was happening at the time is that the day before that, Tom Morello and Rick Rubin had said, okay, Zach quit doing stuff. So, but let's keep Rage together. Let's keep it going. Who would get as the lead vocalist? And they had a short list of about 5 names. All I know is that Tom tells me that I was number 1 and Chris Cornell was number 2.
Wow.
He said, we came to your show at House of Blues and you sucked.
Oh, no.
And so we went on.
Oh, man.
And so, yeah.
That's just insane. Well, I tell you.
I mean, it's good because that would not have gone over well to like have Rage Against the Machine without Zach.
Yeah.
Trying to, and that's to a certain extent some of the stuff we were dealing with Street Sweeper Social Club.
Yeah.
Because Tom's sound is so much of a signature sound.
Yeah.
It is like you hear it and you hear his guitar riff and you expect the vocal to come out to be Zach De La Rocha.
Yeah.
You know.
But I totally agree with you. I just love it. I love your voice with his guitar. It sounds fantastic.
Every nigga now, even if we don't fight, but I sit the ground. Spit the sound of a million fists spin a pound. I'm in the crowd till this whole thing switch around. My brain's on temporary disconnect. I shoot my mouth off, I can't find my pistol yet. You can call this music disrespect, cause it'll slap you in your face at your local discotheque. Mr. Green with your missiles and rockets. My paycheck burns a hole in your pocket. You told the judge put my name on the docket. Meeting in the break room, here's where we plotted. Let's fight, let's smash, let's win. We gon' fight, we gon' smash, let's win.
And something I wanted to talk a little about is the way that you are able to write great lyrics and write these great songs and talk about very important subject matter, but you have this great ability to make me laugh at things that I might be getting angry or crying about, but you're making me laugh about it in your songs. And I think that's just one of the most amazing talents you can ever have in this business. One of the greatest songs ever that you can't play on the radio, the new Fuck You. That song gets me jumping around the house, and I also just crack up at it. It's just fantastic.
Coked out is new tipsy. Tracy Morgan's new Nipsey. Skinny jeans in a new fashion, but none of that shit fits me. Weed smoke is new incense. $2 is new tinses. 3 strikes is new lynching. Buying is the new renting. These lines in the Molotovs. Right now it's the new Holocaust. More troops is new colored off. I'm trying to pry this collar off. Hip hop is the new rock now. Curfews are the new lockdown. Gunshots are the new cricket chirps. Let's flip this shit top down. Rockin' is the new, hey, how do you do? And revolution is the new fuck you. The new fuck you. Rockin' is the new, hey, how do you do? And revolution is the new fuck you. The new fuck you.
do you want to talk about using humor to get your point across?
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't even know I was doing it until I was playing a friend of mine. I really wasn't aware that people thought of that as my thing until I was playing a friend of mine steal this album, which is our third album.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, you do that humor thing. And I was like, really? Do I? And I think what it is that a lot of organizers that I was around coming up, a lot of the older folks, they were actual organizers. Like their job is to get people involved in something. They might be at a strike. They might be at a work site, and they're like inviting people to drink, and they're and the thing is that analysis, to have a correct analysis, it's about discovering and pointing out contradiction in things.
Yeah.
Discovering those pivot points that things are at. And that is very much like irony. And that is very much about how humor works. Right?
Yeah.
And so in talking, just in everyday talking about things, you could be saying something and pointing out the contradiction. And if that contradiction is, has enough of a contrast, it sounds funny. You might not even be trying to make someone laugh. Like you might say that about, like, let's say you're talking about your boss and you're like, he's coming in here talking about, we're a team member, but we don't get into his Mercedes as a team or something,
Yeah.
Things, right? These are things that you're talking about, and they have humor because that's what it's about, is like looking at those things. And that's just also like how you look at life with it, how I look at life. If you're an organizer, it's because you have some optimism about the way out of how things are.
Yeah.
Right.
Optimism, man. That is the key. That's what we need it more than ever today.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I know you. Okay. Here we're running a little bit over, but who the hell cares? I love talking to you, and if you have a little bit more time, I'd love to say, in an earlier song, you sang about this dude. The name of the song, I think, is Pimps Freestyling in the Fortune 500 Club of Donald Trump. And something, I think that's about the name of the song. So this is about 1994. You were singing about this dude at that time. I don't know if you want to talk about him. Do you want to give us any of your opinion about this oddity that's almost could, I don't even want to think about it, but there's a possibility he could represent our country?
Well, let's put it like this: the truth of the matter in terms of how many people are in the United States, 300 and something million people. How many people are actually voting in general, and how many people are right now in hard numbers actually voting for Trump? Like those numbers are comparatively small.
I would
right?
hope so, yeah.
Yeah, as far as what people, really small, compared to the population of the United States. And so the question is, how has the media manipulated it to this point? I think that he doesn't just represent himself. He represents a force in the ruling class, and what for some hardliners in the ruling class might be seen as a corrective force for their point of view, right?
Yeah.
For their way of organizing the world. I think that, as I talk about in that song, he wasn't necessarily in the in crowd of the ruling class. He was kind of, even though he was born with more money than most of us were. He's not self-made.
Yeah.
He was born with more money than most of us would have, and he started his business with something like a $200 million inheritance. I think that the media focus on him represents the fact that, and obviously it's not just Fox News focusing on him.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I think the media focusing on him represents them a need in the ruling class to kind of shift where people think things are. Let me put it like this: before Occupy, we were always told that there were very few radicals or revolutionaries or progressives, right? There were very few of those, and that all across the country, everybody else was to the right of us. And I believe that the media, the mainstream media's role, one of their biggest roles is to make you, the viewer, feel like you're the most radical person in the room, that you're the most radical person in the world.
Huh.
Now, one of the things that blew the cover off, the thing that blew the cover off of that for me, because first when I became radical, I was like, how come, why these just seem like regular politics and a lot like regular values that most people have, like we should share, like I don't want to keep getting exploited, those sorts of things,
yeah.
right? I don't like the profit that I make with my labor being stolen. So these seem like normal things, and so it just didn't ring true to me at first when people would say that's not what people think. And if you listen to my songs, that's one of the other things about it, is that other music that's considered political or conscious is like, you're doing this wrong, you need to hate.
Yes.
Something like that, and it's all about anger or whatever, this and that. But my stuff has always been about, look, here's how we already agree with each other. Now let's go get them. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
And even though we weren't platinum or anything, there was a good amount of acceptance to it that to me, it's, and we'd be playing in different places and doing this music, and so many people from different walks of life. Like when we first played in Oregon, we were opening up for, this was in the 90s, and we were opening up for Coolio.
Oh yeah.
And we had an idea of what hip hop was, so we thought it was mainly black people listening to stuff. But we went on tour with that. We went to Oregon. This is the first time we saw like a mainly white crowd. And back then, this is before people were not necessarily hipsters so there were like white dudes in overalls and short buzz cuts, right? And we were like, oh shit, are these like skinheads coming to do something to us? Like we just had no, our whole information about it was just from TV, right?
Yep.
And no, then after the show, like, no, these are people that agree with the politics, and we had no idea about that, going places. So I had this idea that, look, people are way more radical, than what is being sold. And so after 9/11, we had the album cover where we had the World Trade Center exploding on it before, and we did that in June of 2001, June 2001. It was already printed in many magazines in August of 2001.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so because of that, we were going to go on this tour that was the Executioners tour that I told you about.
Yeah.
They had a song with Linkin Park. It was an MTV tour. It was definitely not our crowd. Because before that, people could be like, well, you're going and you're finding your crowd in all of these places, so it's different. So this was definitely not our crowd. I had band members that did not want to go. Because they were saying, look, I see on the news how the country feels about all this, and I know that you're going to say something against the bombing of Afghanistan, and I'm scared of that. I don't want to get beat up. I don't want to get shot at. I don't want to, all that. So we had to find musicians that were down to go.
Wow.
That's how, and I didn't think that was going to happen, but I also didn't know for sure. And because this was not our crowd again, this was like Linkin Park crowd and MTV and all this kind of stuff, and it was like a snowboarding X Games thing, so like even more so, it was not our normal crowd. Each show, and we were playing all over the place. We were playing Texas, we were playing Florida, we were playing Ohio, like. It was a 45 city tours, and we were all over the place. We were in Montana, North Dakota, all this kind of stuff. And at every show, I would stop the music, give a speech about the atrocities that the U.S. has done, give a message from my friend Jeremy Glick, whose father had died in the towers in 9/11, and who had a message that said, "No war for oil in my father's name," and speak out against the bombing of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And in every one of these, I'm talking Texas, I'm talking Florida, I'm talking all over the place, it was resounding ovations.
Yeah.
Right? And this is, right when they're telling us that everybody is waving flags and all that, but a lot of times people were in neighborhoods where if you didn't have a flag and seemed like you were down for the war, you worried that your neighbors, people, so everybody's doing this thing. What that told me was that it's bullshit what the media is telling us.
Yep.
It's it serves their purpose for them to say that the country is really right wing, and what this is a reflection of the people's will.
Yeah.
And so I had this. I said all of this what I'm saying to you on many interviews, and people kind of looked at it skeptically. Then Occupy happened, and in Occupy, there was an Occupy encampment in pretty much every town in the U.S.
Yeah, it was an amazing thing.
In cities and towns, and with a radical point of view, right? And not only the encampments were there definitely was some opposition to them, but there was a lot of support, and in places that you wouldn't have thought. And that showed to the rest of to everyone that no, people are way more to the left than you think they are.
Yep. I think
they all thought that they were the only ones.
Right. Because they're, like we say, we unfortunately in the general population learn from television, and what's television feeding us? They're just feeding us what the people that pay them, that keep them on the air, are dictating to them.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And some of them might believe it themselves, so they don't even look for the realities of it.
We are the ones. We'll see your fate, tear down your state, go get your guns. We came to fight. It's your disgrace, smash up the place. That's just polite. We are the ones. We'll see your fate, tear down your state, go get your guns. We came to fight. It's your disgrace, smash up your place. That's just polite.
Do we have any media? Is there any media out there that we really can, that is a little bit open? I mean, is even PBS?
Like Democracy Now!
Yeah, and how about like NPR? Is NPR even, or is it extreme to the other side? Or
no, they're not. If you listen to, they got on Pacifica. There's a few shows that regularly expose the political slant towards the right that NPR puts out,
Yeah.
often under the guise of being quote unquote liberal. But
Yeah, because NPR has to be careful because they're being funded by the government.
Yeah.
They have money coming in there, so they can't go too crazy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I mean, but you look at when their coverage of anything that has to do with war by the U.S. It's not critical. It's always like supposedly even-handed, but it's really with the facts supposedly stacked on the side of the government.
Yeah.
So bombings or like they don't take any editorial stance, because even like the big networks, they take an editorial stance sometimes, but their stances are always very light-handed, and they're yeah. So but yeah, I would say Democracy Now! Is something. There's a lot of obviously independent stuff, but Democracy Now! Has some production value and that you can show to people, and they can consume it in small bites if they need to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the only thing that opens people up these days, open people's eyes, are people like you, through social media. Social media in general it seems to be our way of saying things like, hey, the media is just kind of using us, is just kind of bullshitting us, and it's the only place you really hear it. It seems like the media is the Wild West. I mean, the social media is like the Wild West now, and we're getting more information, more real information off of social media than anywhere else.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it can be hidden from a lot of people except for our circle, like with the algorithms on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
That
gets controlled, too. Look at the way they sell shit to us. How does my Facebook page know that I like this? And you're going, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
It's really weird, man. We didn't even talk about, or I didn't mention to listeners that might not be know about you as much, that you were very involved in the Occupy movement. You were kind of like a spokesperson for Occupy, right? You were right there in Oakland when it was really deep and really...
For some of the stuff, yeah, definitely.
With that movement, for me too, it was an eye opener. I went, yes, yeah. This is what we've talked about on this whole interview, about people uniting and people caring, and you guys actually did. There was moments where Occupy Oakland was at the ports, right? And you guys were stopping trucks from leaving and stuff, and what we're talking about here was actually happening in Oakland then.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was happening kind of from the outside because, well, let's say this. On the first general strike, yeah, definitely a lot of the longshoremen were on board, and we technically went and we helped them shut down the ports because they needed a reason to say that they couldn't go in. But even before we did that day, 80% of them had purposely not come in to work. And but yeah, I think what we did there was make a statement about the stopping of profit.
Yeah, that was exactly.
How it really needs to work is the people at their own jobs need to be shutting it down, and then we need to come support them in blocking replacement workers.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, dude, I've probably taken up way too much of your time already. I so appreciate you for who you are. You are an amazing dude. I always love, whenever I get a chance to see you live, I'm there, and your music just blows me away. And now, pretty soon, I'm going to get to see a Boots Ryler film that's going to be a lot of fun, man. So I wish you all the luck in the world.
All right, man.
Good luck out there, and we will definitely hook up soon. I'll see you at a show sometime soon. I hope you do some. Are you any shows planned in the near future?
We're just doing a northwest coast run, which is just Seattle, Portland, Eugene.
Nothing down here in the Bay Area.
No, not until we may look out. There may be a free concert that we do while we're shooting, because we need some crowd scenes.
Oh.
Well, so the crew will give a free concert.
I'll try to find, some really cool clothes, make myself look nice, and I'll come stand in the crowd, man.
Yeah, well, you won't. We don't want people to look like they're dressed up.
No, I'm just ugly. I'll have to do something to make myself look nice. Hey, dude, thanks a lot.
All right, cool.
We will talk soon. Have a great week.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Peace.
So there you go, Boots Riley of The Coup. Be sure to keep an eye open for news about his new film, Sorry to Bother You, and the soundtrack with music by The Coup. Big thanks go out to my super producer, Anthony Walker, and to all of you for checking out The Deep Cut. Until next time, here's one more Street Sweepers Social Club tune called The Squeeze. Later, everybody.
This brick, which is gripped by my fingers, which shoot out from my hand, which is fastened to my arm, that meets up with my shoulder, that sits well below my head, that surrounds my brain, which is tied up with thoughts of resentment, fear, and loathing because of your using me in your road to wealth and power, will crash through your picture window and kill you. We gon' put you in the squeeze. We gon' put you in the squeeze. City is a planet, a glass and granite, and it's ran by some masters of Mac mechanics. We got schools where the facts are banished. We got scams where your stacks are vanished. And the hospital is gon' cost you racks, so panic. All the gangsters throw your triggers up. All the stoners throw your flickers up. All the drugs throw your liquor up. All the bank tellers stick 'em up. Teach them babies how to grip a buck when this hits the streets. Is thunder with thesis. We'll show where the beast is. Make sure it deceases. They smolder with speeches. We shoulder the leeches. Call off the polices. This ain't where the thief is. Janitors work all night like Dracula. Burger flippers, scrappy spatulas. Managers, get your Acuras. Big bosses got your sack because we'll put them in the squeeze. We gon' put you in the squeeze. We gon' put you in the World poverty has just gone platinum. Unemployment checks need to come with a gadget. Changing leather with slave masters still cracking them. This is where I'm scatting from. Listen to the battle drum. We all got our shackles on. Ladies, shoot your deuces. Bankers tip your masseuses. Wardens tighten up your nooses. Motherfuckers make noise if you bought your clothes boosted. The earth is composed of space and atoms and controlled by some pimps without Stacey Adams. But one day they gon' taste the cannon when the people rise up and make the motherfuckers face the dragon. Mercenaries show your paychecks. Homeless folks show your blankets. Rich folks throw your banquets. Tell officials what to say next, cause they won't be at ease. When we put them in the squeeze.